PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, one of the most selling games of all time, pioneer of Battle Royale Craze, and a cultural phenomenon. Released in 2017, it captured the minds of millions of gamers because of its unforgiving nature, huge atmospheric maps, gunplay, fun interactions, and that general special PUBG feeling. But that was a long time ago, millions of years by gaming standards, and now, 8 years from its initial release, what do we have? All big streamers jumped ship ages ago. We had to endure years of stupid decisions from games management, shrinking and dwindling player base outside of Asia, unnecessary content bloat, and years of outright ignoring core problems of the game that led to the state the game is now. But let's get first thing first, and here are PUBG's top 10 worst scenes that killed the game. Ignoring additional game modes for years. Since the beginning of the game, everyone was crying for a faster arcade mode, a death match of sorts like in CS, to practice and improve your skills. And when they added it in 2020, 3 years after release, it really sucked, and actually still does. First of all, maps. They were, and still mostly are, just plain horrible. PUBG just literally ripped off some of the areas from big maps and put them in TDM, and 90% of them simply didn't work. Second, everyone who picks an AR kit automatically has only tier 1 armor, which is not reflecting the real game at all, and therefore not fit for practice, because it ruins your gunplay timings. TTK is faster on level 1 armor, you see. But of course, SMG and shotgun players have level 2 armor, because obviously they need more advantage on mostly small maps, on distances where SMGs and shotguns already excel. And third, people still spawn behind you with 2-second spawn protection, and you just can't kill them instantly because of it. Yes, it turns off as soon as they start shooting, but with PUBG's infamous dissing, you are basically dead before they start shooting. So it's a rage-inducing experience, and I'm not even gonna mention that Team Deathmatch having no replay, so it's literally infested with ultra comfortable game chair users, being level 10 bronze, beam 5 people in 3 seconds with a perfect battle spray. And yes, they just recently added more maps specifically designed for TTM, but it's 2024 for God's sake. And they are not even that good, honestly. Just poor copies of CS style maps. And honestly, even if they just port maps directly from CS and put them in sort of free-for-all deathmatch, it would be better than what we have now. This brings me neatly to the next point. What about the rest of wonderful arcade game modes? Yeah. Blue Rush mode made its debut in 2023, and it's literally a CS knockoff. Bad knockoff. But in itself it's curious enough, but it really depends on how it's implemented. And PUBG, it was implemented in a classic PUBG way, half-assed. First of all, they implemented weird TTK changes to weapons, made guns do less damage and have different recoils. So it's yet another game mode where you can't realistically practice for the main BR mode, because all TTK timings are messed up. Second, it just sucks. It just sucks. It doesn't really work within PUBG. It has revives? And what? And anyway, if I want to get bored out of my mind, I will play the proper 5v5 CS. Also, the Blue Bomb Rush? Blue Bomb Rush? Is just a stupid name. And it's 6 versus 6 for some reason. So, yeah. The next arcade mode is IBR, as Intense Battle Royale, which is a really cool concept and offers intense fights, as the name suggests, of the late game within a small shrinking circle, and generally is a good experience. Well, that is if you're a TPP player. Want to play it in FPP, you say? Well, you can't. Unless you have a time machine. Then you can travel back in time and enjoy FPP IBR. The whole week it was available in FPP, until they changed it back to TPP. Yeah. Taking out map selection and splitting the queues. Of course, you will say, we can't have map selection, there is simply not enough players for it. And the developers think the same. So now you are forced to quit the maps you don't like forever and ever. Don't like Sanok 5 times in a row? Tough luck. Play it and suffer or waste your time by entering the match, waiting for the countdown to start, and then quit the map. Is it a good solution for the developers? Hell yeah. Is it for players who don't want to play trash maps? Nope. But knowing that, the devs keep splitting queues. TPPs and FPP solos, duos, squads, rank TPP, rank FPP, casual TPP, arcade TDM, arcade IBR, training mode, and if sometimes even a special game mode or a featured new map. There are quite a few. We don't have enough players, devs complain. Yet we have like 10 different queues. It's just stupid. It needs to be more streamlined. Like TPP should be all public normal matches. And if you want to go for a more competitive experience, join FPP ranked queue. But it's a whole other topic and needs a separate video. But something must be done with the queues. The player base keeps shrinking. Ignoring social aspect of the game. What is one of the first things that comes to mind when you think of PUBG? The gunplay? No. The maps? Not really. The famous blue and red crate that falls out of the sky with a red smoke and a level 3 helmet in it? Maybe. But what screams PUBG? It is really the beginning of the game, the pre-game lobby, the starting island, and subsequent jumping out of the plane. You load in and there it is.
Taiwan number one.
China number one.
China. No, Taiwan number one. China number one. This is great. No, Hong Kong.
Huge aspect of PUBG's success was the social aspect of it. People played PUBG to have those fun interactions with each other. They watched streamers to do fun stuff. It is literally how PUBG came to its success. Because of those clips of Shroud, Dr. Disrespect, Summit 1G, and the rest. Nowadays, that aspect of the game is almost completely gone. He disabled all chat in pre-game lobby years ago. Well, maybe that it was warranted, but because it was full of insults, racial slur, and cheat adverts. Way to solve the problem, PUBG. By deleting the feature that literally catapulted your game to the stratosphere of gaming fame. Have you even tried to fix it? Or put a system in place to solve the problem? Nope. That's PUBG we're talking about. Why bother if you can just remove the feature altogether? Since then, people mostly stopped using the old chat, even if it's technically available 1 minute after you jump out of the plane. And I even think it's disabled by default when you install the game. Good move, PUBG. The spirit of it just isn't there anymore. Fights now commence in total silence most of the times, and only on rare occasion. I'm speaking like once a month. You might get a fun interaction with one of your enemies, but it's a rare occasion. Another staple of social life and interactions within any game are clans. And they only added clans in 2023. PUBG released in 2017. And those are mostly useless, yeah. Functionality is like from a 2012 browser game, even after the revamp. And like everything is on such a low level, such a basic level, it's just like, it's not even worth to talk about. And the game is still full of bugs, even in its UI. Sometimes your friend catches a bug and it shows him online and in match, even if his game was literally turned off for a week. Sometimes in-game lobby just lags out without warning, and even if on your screen you are ready, in reality you might be not, and nothing indicates that to you or your teammates. So sometimes you and your friends just sit there like total dummies for minutes on end, waiting for you or your glitched out teammate to ready up and start the game. And on his screen he is ready. Good bug fixing, PUBG. Messing around with in-game balance for no reason at all. Bridges. I'm gonna start from a thing that irritates me the most. They almost completely removed the excitement of bridges. It is a crime against humanity. It's a crime against gaming world. We owe so much as a species to PUBG's bridges. So much fun engagements and moments. The bridges. It's a Snovka zone and literally half of the server dies on the bridges. It is fun. It's exciting. It's madness. It should be like that. It's not a competitive game. It's not 5v5 boring CS. Well, what do we have now? Gliders, e-pickups, ferries, and the bridges themselves are different. More safe, with lots of sneaky routes on them. It is boring. Just add more boats, for crying out loud. Why go out of your way to fix something that doesn't need fixing? Crossing with a boat is still dangerous enough compared to the BS listed above. Come on, stop going out of your way to try to cater to newbies. They can learn the game if they are interested, and if they are not interested, they're not gonna play the game. Stop adding bullshit. Well, vehicles. During alpha and early versions of the game, there were only several vehicles available across the map: UAZ, Dacia, buggy, two-wheel motorcycle, and a three-wheel motorcycle. And to travel the waters. They all served their own purpose, and each had pros and cons. For example, UAZ had excellent off-road capabilities, steady if slow climb on the hills, while being pretty vulnerable to bullets, even if in its most protected variant. No roof, cloth roof, and metal roof. Also wrecked UAZ served as a good solid cover in a bad situation. Next, Dacia. Good handling, lower profile, better top speed, but poor off-road performance, especially over bumpy terrain, poor power while climbing hills without enough speed. It also was quite easy to flip, especially on high speeds. Still pretty vulnerable to bullets, even if slightly less than UAZ because of window frame profile. Next is buggy. excellent off-road, pretty stable and hard to flip. But driver is quite vulnerable from the front, but protected from the back by his seat. And the second buggy seat being just a death sentence if any trouble occur. But the second seat also provides 360 degrees view and fire capabilities, so it's kinda balanced. Two-wheel motorcycle, fastest speed in the game, well suited for crazy hotheads who like going for drops and doing recon missions, while being the most vulnerable vehicle in the game. All the while you couldn't even realistically shoot back. So the only plus side is basically the speed. Three-wheeler, the lastest of the last resorts. You have better chances to survive 3 red zones in a row in the open field than surviving on a three-wheel bike. Crazy unstable, with poor handling, buggy as hell, and just the worst vehicle overall. And the last thing. The head speed, but being open top, is quite prone to lose 1 or 2 squad members on rotation. Anyway, each vehicle has had its pros and cons, and you sacrificed speed for agility, off-road performance for on-road handling, safety for speed and so on. But then it changed. The second map, Miramar, added a few vehicles, but they were still generally a good fit for the initial concept of the game. Some were great off-road and some were only really stable on-road. Then Sanok added some meme vehicles as Tukshay, but it really didn't matter. Weekendy added Zima and Snowmobile, which were UAZ and motorcycle alternatives. But then everything changed and Krafton decided that they know better and started adding overpowered vehicles into the game. Problems started with update 10.2, bringing 2-seater Coupe RB to Miramar, Angel and Sanok. It wasn't as OP as the next vehicle in my list, but still a bad sign of things to come. And things came with update 12.2, also known as the Ego update. First 8x8 map for a long while, bringing us the most OP vehicle to date, the Pony Coupe. Baffling 150 kph of speed on release, excellent handling, and most OP protection compared to old vehicles. First of all, it had tinted windows, which makes it harder to see what's going on inside, and the window's profile was lower, so it's harder to successfully shoot people out of the vehicle. Not impossible, but much harder than UAZ or Dacia. And what are the cons of the vehicle? Well, only one really. It's that 2 people on backseat can shoot out of the vehicle. But it's not that big of a deal when you traverse the map with crazy 150 km per hour or 140 after the slight nerf. But it's still more than enough. And it also has, quote-unquote, the all-wheel drive system that ensures maximum traction in rough conditions. That's from official side, by the way. I mean, Pony Coupe can flip if you turn at high speed, and it's quite hard to flip it back on its wheels, but really it's not much of a downside. But the cherry on top of PUBG's vehicle balance is, of course, the stunt police car. It is so overpowered, it's just silly. It has amazing traction, amazing acceleration, amazing maneuverability, most HP of all light vehicles of 1500, as much as Porter truck from Tego. Best protection because of tint black windows and general structure of the car. It has literally no downside. I mean, it's quite fun to drive around in that thing and just beam people, but it's not balanced at all. Generally, the only good thing about that car is it's only present on Destin. And I'm not even gonna mention BRDM with its broken sound, when a huge tank-like vehicle makes precisely zero sound when going downhill with engine off. Cool design, PUBG, seems balanced. Drive-bys. Drive-bys is a plague of modern PUBG. Back in the day, you couldn't reliably shoot out the cars because of lots and lots of small bumps if going off-road. Aim as well was crazy unstable and switching seats took time. Nowadays, any good player just jumps from the driver's seat to his second seat in an instant, while not suffering much penalty for doing so, and beams you several dozen meters away with an AR, while fully enjoying sort of aim assist of the car that makes his aim really stable. And the maps since CptEngage are designed the way to be traversed by vehicles and do drive-bys, because they consist mostly of smooth hills to traverse. And in addition to that broken mechanic, they also made cars not to blow up for 5 seconds after their HP reaches 0. So even if you blow up a vehicle with, let's say, 4 persons on board, they still have time to stop the car and run away literally 2 meters away from the vehicle, not die, nor take much damage, and kill you while you reload. Fun stuff. Vehicles are OP. End of discussion. Another thing, weapon balance. They buffed and nerfed back M4 like 5 or 6 times instead of adjusting other weapons. They also put DBS into the crate, then put it in world spawn, then buffed it, nerfed it, then put it back into the crate, nerfed it, buffed it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Same with AUG. They took it out of the crate just to sell progressive overpriced skins. Then, much later, nerfed it. Then buffed it, then nerfed it. MK12, same thing. Buffing, nerfing. Like, Jesus Christ, and not actually touching other weapons for years. Then they finally buffed handguns and made it possible to shoot your handgun while you're driving a vehicle. Then, like a half year later, they nerfed it? And even, like, barely anyone used it. Yeah, some people that were using it quite well, because they actually practiced and were trying to improve that particular skill. Me, for example, or Wacky Jackie. And it was fun, but it was hard to hit people still with a handgun from a vehicle. Because handguns do so little damage. So you need like 10 hits or something to actually kill a person with it. But then they called it a drive-by nerf for some reason and nerfed the handguns while driving. So it's actually trash now even with laser sight. You cannot hit anyone or barely hit, like, very luckily. Yes, they nerfed, like, when you are not able to shoot your handgun now while you drive left or right, like you steer left or right. You were able to. Yeah, it's a good nerf. That's a good nerf. But Jesus Christ, why you nerf the accuracy so much? And still not touching the actual drive-bys with ARs. It just boggles the mind. Those big companies, they're relying on statistics way too much, and they're not playing their actual damn game. I'm all for changing stale meta of the game, but Jesus Christ, those nerfs and buffs like felt so random, like they were ignoring the actual problems with weapons. And in 2024, they just out of the blue started buffing SMGs like crazy, so they actually outperform ARs in some places where they shouldn't. It's just a circus. Like, it's a circus. It's just it. It's changes for sake of changes to show the players, oh, we're doing something. Like, but it's not true. It's fake work. You just milking your player base. You're not trying to improve your game. But enough of that. Addition of gimmicks. Ziplines, e-pickups, mortars, Panzerfaust, and tactical gear. They all ruin gameplay in one aspect or another. Ziplines. Vertical ones are just aesthetically don't make sense. Why, in an abandoned area previously inhabited by mostly civilians, there are ascenders that go from ground level to the roof, and they kinda all over the place? It just doesn't make sense. The horizontal ones on Miramar kinda make sense. Maybe it's for the tourists to do sort of sightseeing. And the cars on weekend, they are mostly fine, though they massively tank your FPS, yeah, together with the huge propellers. But anyway, devs hasn't been thinking about aesthetics and logic behind the map seats since Erangel rework. They tried to come back to the lore when Sanhok 2.0 and Teego were released, but it was just cringe and forced, so everyone at Krafton just basically gave up. But once again, Miramar and especially Erangel do environmental storytelling so well. It's just sad that the team that put so much care in those two maps are mostly gone nowadays. Mortars. Just why? Panzerfaust. Just why, once again? Completely broken for 1 or 2 years after the release on all maps, and only recently got slightly nerfed with reload animation. It had none before. Yeah, you could just literally shoot someone in the legs, hit them with the splash and instantly knock them. Now you need to reload for 1 or 2 seconds. It only took them like 2 years tops to fix it. 2 years. Yeah. Tactical gear. Probably the biggest F up by PUBG in recent years. Completely changed the game and broke so many things in the gameplay loop that it really needs a separate video once again. So subscribe, blah blah blah. Yeah. Thank God it's gone. I can live without the literal wall hack in my game. Another thing that came out of the crack-fueled brains of PUBG creative department are, of course, sandstorms and snowstorms that deal damage indoors? Okay. I mean, after the whole community was crying about it for a few months, they said that they are looking into ways of disabling damage while in buildings, but couldn't fix it, so they just disabled damage altogether. That dev team, bravo. And my favorite thing in the whole game, emergency pickup item. In PUBG, you need to know where to rotate, how to rotate, timings of it all, what parts of the map and the circle are more likely to be populated dependent on the flight path, and what are less likely. But if you found an emergency pickup item, you just like, whatever. Fly in the sky and get a free compound in the middle of the next zone. Or land for free on someone's roof. Sometimes even without a single sound, because it just bugs out sometimes. And yes, in professional and ranked environment, if the compound is taken, you will get punished while parachuting down, and probably gonna lose 1 or 2 of your teammates. But how many players who play in public normal matches can do that? Not many. I had a game once where I landed on the edge of the map. The zone is on the other side of the map, but I immediately found an pickup. So I don't need to be on the move as soon as possible if I want safe entrance into the zone. I can just chill, loot up and then use the item. Then I used the item and landed on the roof of some guy who were fighting someone, and then easily killed him. I didn't rotate well with the car, I haven't breached the compound using vehicle speed, I haven't pre-smoked, neither have I pre-naded, nothing. I just took a magic rope to the sky, which I have found 3 of, by the way, during my initial loot phase. And knowing the game, I maybe haven't even made a single sound landing on the roof there. Because game is great, with no unfixed for years bugs whatsoever. At the very least, if not removed outright, it should be a super rare item as a flare gun, Like literally, after phase 1 closes, all you hear until the end of the game is choppers going back and forth. People are rotating, you see? Almost non-stop. There are way too many epic up items that spawn on maps. You should rely on your map knowledge, position of vehicle spawns, rotation timings, safest routes from A to B and such. If you are far away from the zone when the circle shifts and you don't have a vehicle or a safe route to the circle, you shouldn't rely on some MacGuffin there, and finding it should be a really big surprise and a big relief. Nowadays, it's pretty common and more of a rule that you can pretty easily find it. Also, the whole process needs to be 2 or 3 times slower, so other teams around you can react and intervene. And that's exactly why PUBG suffers the most. They want to make the game more accessible for newbies and shorten the skill gap, or so they say, but in actuality they're just giving more tools for seasoned players to dominate the battlegrounds. PUBG isn't Fortnite, it isn't Warzone, and it isn't Battlefield. It's PUBG. Everyone who fell in love with the game knows that, except from PUBG's management. And it's a shame what could have been. And yes, they changed emergency pickup from emergency plane to emergency helicopter, and it was good nerf. It was done in order for players to differentiate between airdrops and e-pickups. The nerf also touched the height on which players are transported, so with the plane they were higher, with the chopper now they're lower. But still, realistically, you couldn't hit them, only by luck, great luck. But too bad they haven't changed the even text for 1+ year after that. And still counting, by the way. Anyway, e-pickup should be as rare as a flare gun, or should be in drops, or only in secret rooms. So there is a step to first find the key for the room, go for the drops, and only then call the e-pickup. Greedy, predatory, monetary practices. Who doesn't like their pink bunny skins? What? You want to wear a militaristic outfit to better fit in with the environment? You silly you. You just ain't playing the game right. You should wear that pink pajama and run with a cringe rainbow-colored M4. What? You want that rainbow-colored M4? Well, I'm not judging you, but get ready then to gamble away literally thousands of dollars on a so-called progressive skin, without any guarantee that you're gonna fully upgrade it. That's assuming that you could even understand how to do that, because I haven't seen a more contrived system in the whole of gaming. Yes, there is an option to open crates for free with your BP currency. About 3 to 6 max crates per week. Depends on how much time you spend in game. But even if you get really lucky to fully upgrade your gun, you need to be incredibly lucky. And it still will take you a year or two, which only promotes you to give them more money to speed up the process. They recently put schematics that you need to upgrade the gun in battle passes, which you can only buy with real money. And talking about currencies, in 2024 we've got not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 4 or 5 digital currencies depending on in-game circumstances. Want to learn how to use them all? Good luck. It's not intuitive at all. The end result is the same. That's you being frustrated and with a few $1,000s less in your bank account. I mean, there are some good and stylish skins and some cool militaristic ones, but they are so few and far between, and the ability to get some of them is to gamble again with yet another currency. So it's the system is just contrived and clearly designed to milk more money out of you. Yeah. Skill gap. Back in the day, everyone sucked. Nowadays, everyone is the next shroud, or close to it. And generally, people who play the game for a few years are crazy good. New players just don't stand a chance, hence, the new player retention is horrendous. And sometimes, even in prime time, you play against the same people over and over again. That goes for Europe, Russia, and especially NA server. Recently, it became easier for new players because of implementation of stricter skill-based matchmaking, but it doesn't work perfectly. It works Crafton way or PUBG way. Sometimes doesn't work at all. There are three or rather two and a half categories of SBMM. Lowest tier is total novices, newbies, and just new players. They play a few matches against mostly bots and other newbies like themselves, and then get thrown to the next tier, the middle tier, or a casual player tier. People here kinda know how to play the game, but they are generally not that good, but still can get that sweet, sweet chicken dinner from time to time. It's generally the most fun tier, and some people create more and more secondary accounts just to play in it, if just for a few matches. And next is the top tier, where you can find players who vary from just good and decent and up all the way to streamers, professional players, and generally people of very high skill level. And you can imagine the sweat. It's basically ranked mode with none of its rule set of predictable zones and rotations. It's just normal matches but ranked style, where a full basement dweller squad beams you 500 meters away with 4 mini 14s. And yeah, it's 100 players instead of 64. So yeah, carnage. 40 people alive in phase 4, no fun, no structure. So, if you are just a decent player, you're basically screwed. You won't have fun at all. But what about the challenge? You might ask. Challenge is good, but when you get home from work, Friday night, and want to play some chill PUBG with your mates, it ain't gonna cut it. You need to sweat each and every match, otherwise you just get stomped. Who wants that? And as more and more of those average and decent players leave the game, widening the skill gap more and more. And sometimes, during specific hours and days with low player count, SBMM practically stops working, and people from casual tier get thrown into the mix with literally professional players and seasoned ranked players that, for some reason, decided to take refuge in normal matches. I mean, they have the right to do that. They do it to escape the hell, sweat and blood and cheaters of ranked. I can understand that. But what's the solution, you might ask? I don't know. Maybe a properly configured SBMM, maybe no SBMM. Like the conversations are going for who knows how long, especially in COD and shit. But that ship has probably sailed with the population crash of late 2018. But if I want to play against AI, I play a single player game. That's just it. When I'm playing a PvP game, I don't want AI in it. Period. They move sporadically, not at all like a real human player would. They give away your position to real players, and when you start shooting at them, and they start griefing you by hiding behind trees, it serves no useful purpose for any player. For a good player, it's just an annoyance, distraction, and a waste of ammo. For a bad player, it's just bad practice, that's it. It won't help him to get better at the game. Bots don't move like real players at all, and even If a bad player would kill a few bots, he will just get overconfident and will get wrecked by a real player afterwards. They should remove bots from normal matches and make circle settings adjustable for player count. Small number of players, smaller first zone. That is already shown on the map when you jump out of the plane, the way Warzone did it. You can leave bots in casual mode, and for the love of God, add bots to custom games so we can play sort of co-op matches with our not so good teammates and just have fun. Please. Lack of proper optimization and network issues. PUBG always had notoriously bad optimization, and it barely better now. You still have micro stutters and huge FPS drops, even on buffiest of systems, mostly in big towns and poorly optimized maps. People with 1050, 1070 and even 1660 series who played the game on good FPS now have dips to unplayable 30ish. And the game hasn't improved much graphically in the past few years. I personally started playing with 1660 Super back in late 2019 and had comfortable 100 plus FPS with not many dips in frames. Now I see 80ish on average and huge dips to mid 40s on poorly optimized maps in big cities and when there are 20 plus people moving around me. The point is, the game optimization sucks. Game spaghetti code is to blame. Nothing short of a complete overhaul on a new engine will realistically help. But the problem is that devs can at least try something. But all they do is adding more and more unnecessary features that tank general FPS like skins and gimmicks. Half we already discussed above. And it only gets worse with every patch. I see more and more people complaining about stutters and unplayable FPS on Reddit. People who used to run the game well can't run it well anymore. And even Tiggleton, the poster boy of PUBG in Western Hemisphere, had a problem with stutters just recently. He ignored it for months, he said, just played through it, spent one full stream trying to fix it with chat, but with questionable effectiveness. And he's literally top 3 player in the world with money to spend on his rig and so on. He went to buy a new CPU and his performance improved, but yeah, I'm gonna go and buy a new CPU. Even mine is fine and runs other games well, sure. Then what can an average 9 to 5 Joe can do? Swap his whole setup or some components just because of one game? Seems unlikely and hardly money well spent. And it's not even a guarantee of anything, because some people that I know personally, they get stutters that come and go with patches and nothing seems to fix it. For some people, game runs smoother and more stable on 1080 Ti and something like 8700K than on buffier systems. It's a huge pain in the ass to swap your components to play just one game. Long story short, game's optimization is horrible and devs seemingly do just nothing about it. Cheaters or RGB game chair users. PUBG notoriously did not have anti-cheat in alpha and early access, and the famous cheater-infested state in which game was in 2018-2019 resulted in huge masses of people to outright quit the game. And in the current day, they're as present as ever. Some don't hide it, most do. Nowadays, rarely you see a rage hacker aimbotting you across the map, or destroying vehicle tires with punches from the center of the map. I won't insert no clips here, except this one, because game's mobile developer, which name starts from T, abuses YouTube copyright system and unfairly nukes whole channels with videos exposing game chair users. And they don't care if that it's not mobile version of on the video. They just nuke the whole channel. Yeah. So there are rare rage hackers, some blatant wall hackers, maybe one or two in a session, but most are so-called closet cheaters. They're quite smart and don't use insta-headshot aimbots. And they configure it. They are aimbots for double chest, then a head, limbs, something like different, not like aim lock on head. They use no recoil scripts, they use ESP, enhanced sensor perception cheats. So they always see where you are, what you are doing, your health, KD, and so on. Generally, when fighting such a player, something just feels off. They seemingly always one step ahead, know where you are gonna peak, do crazy pre-fires, and generally have a game sense of a professional PUBG player competing in a tournament. Another strategy of those RGB game chair users is to have one or more throwaway accounts in the squad, feeding information to the non-game chair user accounts, or just blatantly cheating and boosting the aforementioned account. They go as far as being in one clan, because generally PUBG's anti-chair department is inept and full of clowns. Anti-cheat generally doesn't work and only bans cheats from the first page of Google. And their anti-chair team mostly relies on in-game reports, which were broken for a while now. You might get a temp ban or two each time you log in, but for a cheater to get a permanent ban, yeah, it's as rare as Sharky Zone. Almost never happens. Some players suspect that developers just don't ban high-level cheaters because they put lots and lots of money into the game, basically whitelisting them. There were actually a couple of partners banned for cheats who sold basically their whitelisted accounts, so that's that. But generally, I don't have much proof for whitelisting, just mine and other people's observations. Maybe the thing to blame is the streamer culture. Everyone wants to be the next Shroud and drop that 20 kill bomb every second game. But obviously only a few rare individuals really can do that. And those are in rosters of professional PUBG teams. The rest, yeah, they live in mom's basements and use help of software to achieve those heights. Yeah, on that fun note, let's go to honorable mentions. Stupid yellow dots to click on. Ear rape by game's intro. Loading times to start a game because of several unoptimized anti-cheats. Currently in August 2024, we have invisible weapons and flickering weapons while spectating a teammate for 3-4 months already. Their urgency on fixing those bugs is staggering. Training mode is still undercooked. 5 years after they released it, wanna fly a glider in training mode? Or practice smokes, C4s or Molotovs in training mode? Well, you can't. You just can't. Unvaultable windows all around the maps that should be vaultable. Small steps that you need to vault on or jump over. You still getting stuck in rocks. Test server that was just there with no feedback option. Never once they changed something after the test server, just even if the community was crying for it. Then they just removed the test server, saying that they're gonna rethink the test server, but it's like been a year. Okay, they actually listened to us the whole one time and nuked the test server shortly after. What a wonderful coincidence. Final thoughts. PUBG. PUBG never changes. After all what have been said, PUBG's management just killed their own game. One horrible decision after the next, and that's for years. It could have been the most popular FPS game in the world, rivaling Fortnite, Call of Duty and whatnot. Mod support, custom maps, community maps, openness to community feedback, faster decision making, and so on and so forth. Just common sense would go a long way. Make player satisfaction and properly working game your priority, and then sell us pink bunny skins. Not just milk your player base with overpriced skins and barely working game. But we have what we have. Dwindling player base, years of stupid decisions, and never-ending greed. That is all for today. Thank you for watching. And despite all its recent or not so recent downfalls, there is no other game like PUBG. I still log in once a week or so to get that sweet chicken dinner. So don't be a stranger, come by my Twitch stream to chat about PUBG, horrible state of FPS gaming in general, and just to hang out. See you there and in new videos. Peace.